All right. Hey, everybody. That camera right there. How's it going? It's Johnny Torres. Man, tonight has been interesting. We are coming to you live, as you can see, not from our normal studio, but from the Feather Sound Golf and Country Club in beautiful Pinellas County, Florida, where they just wrapped up the Congressional Candidate Forum for Congressional District 13. We heard from all the Republican candidates tonight, and we figured we're here. We got all our stuff set up. Well, why not go ahead and do a show anyways, right? So joining me as always is these guys. Man, it's gonna be a three-peat
This is
tonight.
gonna be a fun show tonight.
I know. We have no idea what's gonna happen.
Every
tonight,
show
so.
is a fun show. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Thank you.
That's right.
I think
so.
every show is a good show, so I'm excited for tonight.
We got new graphics.
This is going to be an interesting one because I want to set the over-under at how many people walk into our conversation. I think it's probably going to do under over 3.5. You guys can put your comments below on how many people you think are going to just walk into our shot.
Well, I love this population of REC members because they hobble in and they want to have a great conversation with someone under the age of 50, and they just don't realize that we're filming. So I think that's the only issue that we're having. We need a sign that says that we're live.
If we're going to take this thing mobile again, we're going to need to make sure we get like a live in session sign or something.
Wrong way.
Yeah.
Oh, is it all the way out?
We're learning all
it's
kinds of
the way
stuff
out.
right now.
Well, no, because the reason I was seeing if we could zoom out, because see if we go to camera 1, then I can unfurl my beautiful little menu of topics here. So just to give everybody an idea of what we're going to be talking about, of course, today we had basically the wrap-up of the congressional hearings for Trump's impeachment. Pelosi losing it, Biden losing it, everybody's losing it, except jobs. Everybody's killing it in the job sector. Job numbers are just blowing up through the roof. And let's see, the Democratic primary is on the list. We'll talk briefly about the White House Christmas decorations and then two gentlemen. And trust me, I shouldn't even be calling them gentlemen, but we'll be polite for tonight, who have gotten in some hot water here locally, one in Pinellas, one in Hillsborough County. They go by the names of Jim Warishuk and George Buck.
We're starting on this?
We're starting on this.
No, we're going to start with the impeachment.
Okay.
And so, today, we had the two attorneys, one from each side, and I was fortunate enough to be on WFLA this morning, and so kind of being forced to watch it really, because these attorneys basically are just going up there and recapping. We talked about it. It was almost like a TV show that had gone on hiatus for a number of months, and then all of a sudden comes back, and you've got these two guys who are telling you everything that, in case you missed, and they were playing clips and they were like quoting people.
Yeah, I mean, it's something we've been saying on this podcast for a couple of weeks now, is that like this thing is just political theater. I mean, it's just crazy. It's hard to keep up the interest level on a week-to-week basis. It really does. I mean, that's why you had to turn it into a telenovela on SNL, right? I mean, like you had to recap all of the people and their backstories and like where they're coming from and like who their love interest is and all that kind of different stuff. But as far as impeachment goes, again, I think the biggest thing to take away from all of it is that the average American, I don't think, is tuned in to it right now. I think that it's really just us.
Not even us.
Yeah,
honestly, it's to the point to where now not even waiting rooms at airports and hospitals are watching this anymore on CNN or MSNBC. It's come to a point to where the public is no longer interested. The percentages, even for people somewhat interested or wanting the impeachment to go through, has dropped below 50%. Right. So it's going the complete opposite direction that the Democrats want, and for good gander. It's a complete waste of time. Everyone sees that, and again, it's not even a stain on a dress that we're having this conversation. It's a phone call that everyone read the transcripts for. So at the end of the day, it's something that everyone's already, they know that they might not have been comfortable with the call, but not to the point of impeachment. And that, I think, is something that people have grown tired with.
It only took you about 5 minutes to take it,
too far.
DEFCON. Oh, that was very tasteful.
That was pretty tasteful compared to some of the other ones we've had on.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Well, and again, the one thing that, just reiterating some of the points I made this morning, They wanted to wrap this up before Christmas. It's not going to happen, especially because now it's got to bounce over to the Senate side. Now what is going to be interesting is going to be to see how Mitch McConnell handles this.
Well,
Is he going to just shove it through and get it voted on and be done with it? Or is he actually going to at least go through somewhat of a process so that people, don't say, hey, the fix is in?
Yeah, I think that he probably is going to go through at least somewhat of a process, right? I mean, the Democrats went through kind of their process, which was not a process that anybody else had ever done before, and I think that probably you're going to see the same thing in the Senate as well. There goes our backdrop.
We worked so hard to get it.
We worked so hard. Yeah.
So I think what needed to happen, and I heard rumblings of this over the weekend before the hostage tape of Nancy Pelosi came out, which was they were trying to figure out if
people
they could
have
do
no
a
idea what
censure.
we're talking about.
The censure. And they were trying to see if they could do a censure, and she did not, nor did her party want to. I think the vote for impeachment and the House side will happen before Christmas, or at least before the end of the year.
Yeah.
But I have to agree. I like the idea of us, again, if we start impeachment process in the Senate, it requires every senator to sit in the Senate and not ask one question, but just listen to evidence for 6 weeks.
Yeah, and I think that they're probably okay doing that. It's not like they're going to have to go on. I mean, they can take their political theater if they want to do it. They can all get up and, make their stands and their comments and try and get the media attention while they're doing it. But again, I think we're looking at a big show for the next couple months still.
But Johnny has it correct. Does Mitch McConnell allow it to go the full 6 weeks?
I think he,
or does he nip it in the bud? Because again, the benefit of having all 6 weeks is that we're 56 or 59 days away from the Iowa caucus. So you get rid of 4 Democrat running.
But that's helpful to them.
Well, that's what we're going to see.
Helpful for the Republicans or the Democrats?
I think it's helpful for the Democrats because the more attention people pay to the Democrats and their candidates and their policies, the worse off that they are going to be in a general.
But that's the whole purpose of doing it for 6 weeks. It takes them off the campaign, so they cannot campaign.
And I don't think.
So then we have Joe Biden and Andrew Yang out there in Iowa by themselves for 6 weeks.
Yeah, but I think that it's more beneficial for the Republicans let them keep talking. Yeah, no, to have 5 candidates, 7 candidates, whoever's. How many are we down to now? We've lost because we lost 3 this week, right?
We lost 3 this week. Yes, I think we're down to 10.
10?
Maybe 10.
Okay, so if we're down to 10,
well, the big ones are out.
Kamala's out
11.
now.
We're at 11.
Okay, so either way, the point is though is that for Republicans, it's way easier and it's better for there to be 11 candidates out there saying dumb stuff versus
27.
2. Well, no. For as far as again, like I've already seen the ads start. They've already started the ads. Like they just take clips of what Democrats are saying and then they run them as ads. And I think that again, if you take them away during that time, then you're not going to get those ads. You're not going to get that content.
So then you want there to be 6 weeks of impeachment?
I don't really want there to be 6 weeks. I mean, I'm not gonna pay.
It's like winter.
Yeah, I don't really want there to be anything. But I think that again, if you're talking about like from like a a strategy standpoint, I don't think it hurts Republicans in a general election that these.
It's not going to hurt Republicans, and again, it hurts Democrats because, again, psychologically too. Do you want to be the party that is impeaching the president going into a Christmas holiday? And again. We think a little bit differently because of the way that we watch and follow politics, but I think that kind of negativity is going to wear on people, and it's going to be something that I don't think they're going to like very much, being that we're now going to be kind of in limbo here between the House and the Senate. And then as soon as the holidays are over, then they're going to start getting bombarded by direct mail, radio, TV ads. It's just going to be open season because congressional candidates, state house, state senate, local candidates. I mean, it's just the floodgates are going to open on political advertising.
Yeah, I don't think that you're going to see the floodgates open just quite yet, but I think that the impeachment hearings themselves have been a great opening of the floodgates to Republican donors, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, have been
every new aha moment that the Democrats try to put in, the Republicans cut a new ad, and they make another $500,000 on that kind of the campaign.
Yeah, so I think that when it comes to money coming in and ads starting to roll and that kind of thing, again, you're going to see it ramp up in January. That's for sure. I think people do want to just focus on their holiday break over the next couple of weeks. I don't think that people they really don't care about impeachment right now. If you're your average American who's going to, Christmas, maybe they're traveling across the country next week or something like that. I mean, like impeachment's the last thing on the average American's mind, I think. And again, I for people that are probably watching this show, it's fun political theater, but I don't.
Well,
really
what I'm
see
saying
the
is
impact.
it's not whether or not it's going to be front of mind. It's just going to be the negativity that surrounds it. That's not the kind of thing you want around the holidays, and they're going to be seen coming off as very combative, very angry, and very determined to try to get this president out of office. Again, right around a time where I think people are just sick and tired of the divisiveness as it is.
Which is what we actually saw during the moment with the press and Pelosi. I think, was it this morning or yesterday? It was this
I
morning.
think it was this morning, yeah.
And where she got a few days ago, where she got so angry that she walked back to the podium and started yelling at the press
yeah.
for not allowing them to have that conversation. And to point to where she's like, well, they're asking her, well, I pray. I don't hate anyone. I pray for the president every single day. Yeah, you pray for him to, not wake up in the morning, probably. There's an old saying at a group of, I'll say it, at my old church, was the prayer that Nancy Pelosi is probably saying, Lord, either change his mind or take him with you. So I really do feel that Pelosi is very upset that her legacy will be the failed impeachment.
Yeah,
of a
I
president.
don't think she wanted it in the first place. I think that was pretty clear that she didn't want that. But yeah, like you said, I don't think she wants her legacy to be that. And I think that when you're in Congress that long and you're in D.C. around it that long, the only thing you're thinking about is legacy. And so I agree. I don't think that this is what she probably wanted it to be, and she probably wanted to be remembered for a lot of other things. But that this is what's going to probably be her.
It will be her legacy.
And I still maintain she didn't want this in the first place. I think she is well aware. She's been in the game long enough to realize that there's not enough there to really drive the public opinion against Donald Trump, which is the only reason they're going down this road in the first place.
Again, she looked like she was reading as a hostage from a teleprompter.
I mean, that's
with
how they
a gun to her head, and I think that's really what happened.
That's how. Oh, I don't know. If that's exactly what happened, but
off screen.
But
AOC is right there.
Yeah.
With a paper mache.
Yeah, but that is that part of the party, the AOC part of the party, the far left wing of the party is pushing her to do it because I don't think she would do it otherwise.
No, yeah, I mean her and Schiff and Omar and basically, obviously, who on the left really doesn't want to come after Trump? And so they've said it since day one that they wanted to come after him, and that's what they're doing. And I think it's pretty transparent from that end. And honestly, I don't think the people are going to care. I think even if this impeachment were to go through, as much as they want it to, and it's not, it'll die in the Senate. I don't think people at the end of the day are going to care one way or the other, and he'll get reelected in November.
But that's the difference, that it's not bipartisan. There is no bipartisan agreement for the impeachment, which Nancy Pelosi said that she would only allow it to happen if it did have bipartisan agreement. So it's all baked in already. Everyone, if you're a Republican or half of independents, are not going to want impeachment. The other half do. And everyone knows it's going to die in the Senate. There's not one Republican senator that's probably going to vote for this at all because there's not enough evidence. And the fact that they're still pushing for this is what's caused the biggest problem.
Well, and if they'd had the votes, they would have brought it to a vote already. And
Correct.
They're claiming that they're wanting to hear more testimony. But again, we closed off all testimony today, with having both the attorneys from both parties. I think it's an excuse, and I think they're still trying to rally votes for this thing.
But this is what happens when you don't believe that President Trump is president, that he wasn't duly elected.
Yeah.
And that's how
That is what it is. I mean, they really haven't accepted him as the president for almost 3.5 years now.
Yeah.
So that's what's going on right now. And I mean, again, impeachment. We'll talk about it again next week and the week after. I won't be here, but you guys will talk about it over next week, and you'll talk about it again the week afterwards. And I mean, like right now, there's just not that much going on for us to go unless you want to just kind of run down small legalese and
No,
and,
I think
and
I think
moves.
what is interesting is the fact that Trump has decided strategically to stay out of it from a defense standpoint. And if there was only an attorney that we could talk to that could talk to us about strategy.
No? Okay.
But
He didn't sign the waiver, so we can't have him on air.
But it's one of those things where it's interesting because, I mean, we know, especially being here in Florida, Pam Bondi is part of the defense team for this Trump impeachment. And so far, she's been pretty quiet as to kind of what all the dealings are going on there. Supposedly, they were ready to go, but yet they haven't been engaged in the process yet.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they need to be right now. And again, probably looking more towards the beginning of the year next year.
The Dems are going to continue to ruin this chance of them getting reelected.
Yeah, of course they are. Because the thing is, we have been talking about this for so long. Like we've been talking about how like
summer.
And you hear it from all of the other Republican pundits out there. They're like, if the Democrats would just like stay in their lane, just stay sane the whole time, just like run somebody moderate,
crazy.
like you would be in a much better place than you are than doing all the different things they're doing right now, and they just can't get out of their own way. They really do just trip over their own feet.
Yeah.
Every election cycle, it seems like.
But as most Democrats would threaten that Trump was not going to take the election results the night of, and of course he wins and everything goes to haywire on their side. But then they're talking about undoing the Electoral College. They're talking about the fundamentally illegitimate elections. They're talking about reconstituting the Senate to vote for the president. I mean, they're trying anything to unseat him before the next.
And I think that's what's really scary about a lot of the proposals you see out there, right? It's proposals like let's get rid of the Electoral College. It's proposals like let's change up how we vote. What are the percentages we need in Congress and the Senate? And they're fundamentally trying to change the rules around their own way, so that way that they can get continue to get extra votes in the years to come. And that's what's scary about all this, is that instead of just going and running an election with a normal candidate with decent political views, instead of doing that, they're going and trying changing the rules to do it.
They are becoming the individuals that are taking away from the republic itself.
Yeah.
When you no longer can trust the voting results, or have a segment of the population not willing to contest, then you lose the fundamentals of a republic. And that's the problem that we're going to move forward. God willing, yes, President Trump wins the popular vote and the Electoral College in a landslide. And even then, they're still going to be bitching about the fact that they didn't win.
I think it's also very possible that he doesn't win the popular vote again, because I don't think that's where he's going to campaign. I mean, the reason why he lost the popular vote in the first time is because he didn't campaign for the popular vote. He campaigned for the Electoral College.
Well, that's
the way you're supposed to win.
The game
that's how you're supposed to win. And so I could easily see a scenario in which he also loses the popular vote again.
I think they do. I don't think he loses the popular vote. And the reason why I say that is because they have the funding now to be able to run the actual campaign they want.
They had a lot of funding then.
Well, not as much as they did now. I remember she spent
not as
3
much,
to 1 when compared
because they were spending it in the wrong places. Yeah,
and that's exactly. So now again, but this is why we had the conversations about when you see the black vote, when you see the Hispanic vote above 20, above 30%. That's where you get the popular vote. Yeah. These individuals that didn't vote for him the first time around and now are like, well, I voted a Democrat just because I've always voted Democrat. Well, now I'm going to give him a shot. And that's where you get I feel that the popular vote is within grasp with the Republican Party.
I think it's within grasp for sure.
And the tide hasn't turned against him as much as they want to claim that it has. I mean, there was an article that came out today, actually, from the New York Times, talking about how districts that the president won in New York, then in the midterms went for Democrats, and that so far all the polling is showing that he's going to win those districts all over again.
Again, I totally see us picking up at least 1 or 2 more states in this coming election cycle. I feel that we hold the Senate. I would love to see a battle plan to take back the House. I am not privy to that kind of planning. We're not up there yet. If you can see, we can't even keep a sign up in the background, so we're just not there yet.
We have some stuff to work on. Yeah, for sure. But maybe we can we'll just jump on to our next topic.
So next topic, someone else who's not having a great week. Joe Biden, he of course continues to get pelted by all the accusations as to.
You know what's amazing about this show so far is that the backdrop has changed 5 times so far.
None of it digital.
It has just been. This is a lot of fun. I don't even know what's going to come on that screen. Maybe they're going to play a movie. We're not even really sure.
This would be amazing. I would love to see that.
There could be another meeting coming in.
Could be another meeting.
No. This is Pinellas County. No one over the. There's nothing that happens after 8 o'clock.
It's bedtime.
Have the counties already asleep.
But so back to Joe Biden, I guess. It's hard for me to focus. But yeah, he has had quite the week. I mean, he's been talking about it since before he ran, right? Like constant gaffe machine. That's what's going on right now, right? That's what happened last week. I mean, he so desperately wanted to call that other old guy a fatso, and that's like I
think he was going to call him a fat ass.
I think that's what he was going to say.
amazing.
I would have loved it if he would have just gone for it and said that.
You have to go for it. You can't split halfway
stop.
through.
You have to
That's
go for it.
Oh.
And then the biggest issue that I had with that was then he did like a push. He wanted to do a push-up contest with the guy, and I'm laughing. I'm like, could I do that?
Well, didn't he also want to fight Donald Trump last time around? Like, weren't they kind of gonna?
Oh my
were they like
gosh.
kind of starting to
he
challenge
said
each
that
other?
He made the comment like, I'm the only one that could punch him back.
He said something like, I feel like they've really, it would be great to watch our presidential candidates who are both in their 70s, well into their 70s, just duke it out in the middle of a ring. I think that's a good way of solving the election problem.
Well, and then you've got the issues that we touched on last week also, but the fact is that now with the internet, this stuff never goes away, which was not only him biting his wife, which some people have now kind of moved on from, but the remark about the kids, man, that still is just a weird one.
It's
a
still
very
weird.
one.
And it's kind of like like they say in Archer, it's like phrasing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just like I don't know what he was trying to get across with that little story.
That's the thing though, is that people look at that and they say, is this guy kind of a little senile? Like, is he making any sense? Like, can he hold? I mean, people talk about like women not being able to be president because like they can't hold their emotions in. Like, I mean, when you see something like that,
I did not say that.
I didn't say that. I said people say that.
You need to
People
be
say that.
Wow.
Not this show says this. People have said this in the
This show
past.
does not say that women can't be president.
That's not what I said, but I said that people have said that kind of thing
Johnny,
in the past.
I think Jake was making
I'm staying
comments.
quiet on this one. I'm
But I
just sitting
said-
here laughing at y'all.
But people have said that kind of thing in the past, and I think that
if
something
Jake
along
knows
this
about
lines is it really is where it's like you look at Joe Biden, you go,
I'd
I
like to
mean,
meet these people you're talking about, Jake.
Who are these people?
it's just bad people out there that don't understand that you can't. That's not fair. So the point that I'm trying to make though is that Joe Biden really is he is not probably capable of holding his emotions, and I mean, it doesn't look good
Okay.
if you're on the.
But is it okay? Because Joe, there was a clip from C-SPAN that came out years
Yeah.
ago where he also yelled at some guy at another campaign event
Yeah.
when he was running for Senate. Is it just in his nature to be slightly combative, or is he losing it? Is he getting that old?
It used to be the uncle at dinner. It's funny when he has a bottle of wine. He gets a little funny. Now it's like, do we need to take uncle to the doctor to see if there's an issue with his memory and moving forward from that? I think that's where we're heading toward. Again, this is a grueling election cycle. It's not easy to run for president.
And again, he was pretty beloved coming out of the Obama administration. Like if you polled, that's why he ran in the first place. If you polled the average American, they had a pretty positive view of this guy. And then as soon as he jumped into the race, I mean, now they're starting to dig up stuff with Hunter Biden. This would have never happened if he didn't run for president, right? They would have just this would have been swept to the wayside.
Crazier,
It's the Ukraine
what's
thing.
even crazier is that if he would have run in 2016, it never would have come out.
Correct.
Because I don't think it had even happened yet, right?
I think it was happening. No, yes.
China happened before.
It was happening beforehand because Obama was scared to make him the VP.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
right.
So
Yeah,
it was
yeah, yeah.
happening at the beginning of the terms.
But
During
I still maintain,
No.
had he run in 2016, I think he could have beat Trump.
I think that probably it's tough, right? Because there's so many different elements that happened in that last election. I mean, it's very small,
Well, because it came down to strategy.
It
right?
came down to strategy and it came down to ratio. And I think people really disliked Hillary Clinton so much more than they dislike Joe Biden. Even now,
Yeah, I do agree.
he's just a more likable guy, even with all the gas and everything. But that makes him more likable than Hillary, who's as dead behind.
Did you see the interview with Howard Stern and Hillary Clinton?
I didn't actually see it. I heard a couple of clips from that because that's as much as I get.
I've never felt like watching two more conceited individuals talk about anything in my life. It's two old, rich white people talking about student loans forgiveness and laughing about Andrew Yang. And
I have a lot of
it's
problems with
so
student loan
bad.
forgiveness right now, by the way.
And Howard
another
Stern's
topic.
yeah. Well, and Howard Stern, especially.
Does she really need the money from the book sales? I'm sorry.
Well,
Who
but it's not
booked
even
her on
that.
that?
I think Howard Stern, especially since he moved to satellite, he really started to lose touch with the people that got him to where he is, and his interviews have gotten terrible. The show's not.
Well, it's not that. I don't think it was
anymore.
him moving to satellite as much as it was him doing like the singing shows. No, the singing shows.
Oh.
Like you going from from radio to satellite radio, like he was still doing a lot of the same stuff. Like he was really happy because he didn't have like the FCC on his back, right? But now for the last, I don't know, it's been like 15 years probably, he's been judging singing shows in Hollywood. I mean, like that is a much cushier gig. It pays a lot more, and then you also have to tone down your personality because you can't say any things you want to say on the Howard Stern show on America's Got Talent.
Yeah.
So I mean,
he
yeah,
had
so
to soften his image.
Of course, yeah.
No, from all the outlets that talked about the interview, it was a disaster, and just makes her again look bitter and upset that she has yet to be able to come up with an actual talking point with why she lost the election. The fact that we're still talking about it and we're already at 4 years is just, it's pitiful, and it's becoming, again, does she really need the money? I don't understand. Or does she wants to stay relevant?
What's frightening is that Democrats, and I think Nadler said something to the effect on the Sunday show that they're already beginning the narrative that he's somehow manipulating the 2020 elections, which again sets a dangerous precedent, because anytime that you try to bring insecurity into an election, I think that's incredibly harmful. And and they're just putting it out there, like with no regard for for people.
Well, that's kind of what
civic responsibility.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, there's people who've been pushing narratives, and it's happened on both sides, that there's this insecurity around our election cycle, and then you see people do episodes on late night talk shows about how how hackable our election systems are and our voting machines and that kinds of things.
But that means they know absolutely nothing about our system and nothing about it because of how decentralized the voting. You would have to manipulate millions upon millions to be able to change anything.
And I've talked about this before on the podcast. One of the things that people keep saying about when they're like they hacked the election or they got involved, like they're trying to influence the election. I mean, when they say that, they mean there are people out there posting Facebook ads trying to convince you to their side, right? Yeah. They're influencing the election. They're not going in and hacking all of these devices. I mean, like the way that people sometimes think it's going to happen in like movies.
Well, look, and obviously, was Russia trying to influence the election? Yes. But when you talk about what they were trying to do online, and we've talked about this often because this is our wheelhouse.
Exactly, yeah.
I mean, they spent less than some of the clients we've worked with spend in a month.
Yeah, and I mean, as the Tampa Young Republicans, like we're gonna probably run some ads for some candidates, right? I mean, are we influencing the election as an outside? I mean, we're American, obviously, but that's kind of how it ends up working when you're trying to convince the American public about your side of the view. I mean, again. So when it comes down to this kind of stuff, I don't like the narrative that the left is trying to push right now, which is, Russia's going to get back into it. They're going to keep trying to influence our election. Our elections are under attack, all of this different thing. I mean, people should be confident in their election, because if you talk to a supervisor of elections, you have a lot of confidence in the way that they're doing it. I mean, depending on which county, I will let me put a little asterisk on there, because I'm from Palm Beach, so I don't have quite as much.
And I'm from Broward.
So we don't have quite as much.
You guys are South. You guys are North Cuba. So,
but here in Pinellas, like if you talk to a supervisor of elections here in Pinellas County, I mean, they have a fantastic one, and I have all the utmost confidence that
I was going to say the same thing with Hillsborough County. I had a lot.
Same thing, yeah.
I've met with the supervisor of election. I've met with other individuals that are regional directors, and I have a lot of confidence in who they are and everything else. I see them all the time when they do voter registrations at different community events, and they are as bipartisan as you would expect. They should be running that department.
Yeah.
And so I have a lot of confidence in those individuals.
And most people don't get those conversations, which is why people probably do have a little bit of a, they're a little confused on what the process is. Is our voting machines under attack? Is our process under attack? Are we getting influence our elections? But if they talk to somebody at the supervisor elections, they probably feel a lot more confident.
It's the Democrats hedging their bets, knowing that they're going to lose this coming election. They need to already put fear, and they need to put falsehood in the election results. And again, that's something that undermines the republic, and these Democrats are not doing anything to help with the building of democracy.
Yeah.
All right.
So now that we called out their patriotism,
I know we had some candidates outside and stuff. Do you want to see if maybe any of them can join us, or?
Well, let's talk a little bit then about our local topics, I guess. Then we have a few different candidates here that are.
Well, hang on, let me see. Let me bring back the menu.
I see Luna.
Well, the White House Christmas thing was actually something that Cassie wanted to talk about, and I apologize that she wasn't able to join us because we had technical issues earlier tonight, which is when we were supposed to do the show. But again, Melania, kind of spearheaded the White House Christmas decorations, and obviously, Democrats and people are criticizing it. But I don't know. I mean, it's much ado about nothing in my book. I mean, it's predictable at this point.
Yeah. I don't know if that was again one of those kind of stories where they're critical of something just for the sake of being critical because she's last name Trump.
Right there. No, I agree that the only reason why they made comments is because they were just trash talking her.
Yeah, I wouldn't bug them over there to come over do the show, but I said I wouldn't bug them in the middle of it because we don't even have anything for them to talk on. You don't,
Chris.
It's all right. We don't have to worry about it. But anyway, I think that we need to probably talk about one of the most important things that happened over the past week, which is that jobs report that came out, which is on our list as well.
Yeah.
And that jobs report is just as good of news as you possibly can get in this country at this time, right? I mean, jobs are it's incredible. I mean, all-time low in Hispanic. Am I taking all of your stats?
Yeah. Well, no, you haven't actually said a stat.
Okay.
Yet.
Well, I'll give you the stats so you can lay it out, and then we can talk about it.
See you, buddy.
So, do I get an addict sign or no? We don't have a promos anymore.
No, go ahead.
No, it's all right.
Go ahead.
So the job report for October was released. Actually, no. Job reports for November were released at 266,000, with September and October's job reports being ramped up above 40,000. So right now we're sitting on, and this is a number that we want to hit more often, is above 300,000 when it comes to job creation. From that, they were projecting 187,000 were projected. We hit 266. Unemployment right now is at 3.5%. Black unemployment is at 5.5. Hispanic is at 4.2. Wage growth is blowing up at 3.1% year over year.
And then the other thing that I heard,
the big one,
and then the other one that I heard that I think is really big is that the average work week is about 34, 35 hours a week.
Mm-hmm.
And that means that, the narrative of all these people are working 2, 3, 4, 5 jobs, it's just not quite at the level at what people are saying on the left it is. They have to keep trying to explain to the rest of the community, no, you really don't have jobs. No, you really don't have, all this opportunity. But when you look at the jobs reports, when you go out and you try and get a job, I mean, there's jobs out there right now.
But that's also a positive. I mean, we're talking about we're in the middle of, again, a huge economic transformation known as the gig economy.
Yeah.
And you got people that, even though they may be working a full-time job, they've got side hustles. And
yeah.
Some people have multiple side hustles, and some of them are private, some of them are Uber and any number of, side gigs, Airbnb, stuff like that.
So a lot of side gigs that you're talking about are more service-based, which is what we want to be building out when it comes to the gig economy. So jobs that were added, 50,000 were in manufacturing and auto jobs and auto parts. Healthcare, hospitality, and leisure were some of the largest growths in this cycle. Because it's November and not December's report, it was only 2,000 people were hired in retail, and we lost about 4,000 jobs in mining.
But what's amazing about the jobs report and the losing it is that Canada predicted that they were going to gain jobs, and it was so funny to watch. I think Eric Trump or Donald Trump Jr. posted on their Instagram the Canada's job report headline and our job report headline right next to each other, and they lost 7,000 jobs over the past
they're having a huge problem.
I mean, it does show you what two countries that are literally, Canada could be another state, and honestly, we're looking at them and you're going, it's just the policies that are in place right now because everybody is dumping all of their money and their investments into America because of the current situation politically.
Well, capital flight around the world is flying directly into the United States from South America, from Europe, even from Asia. They're dropping as much money as possible, and they don't care if they're losing 20-30% because the fact that they're able to pull out 70% of their money is enough for them to want that.
Well, and the fact is that during the last administration we saw a lot of, especially the bigger corporations, opening satellite offices in Canada, in Mexico, in Ireland, in other countries, because they were tax havens or they had lower corporate tax rates than we are. Now all that, basically the lowering of the corporate tax rate is just sucking all that energy back here.
Well, and especially when the rest of the world is kind of seeing a little bit of a recession, depending on which country you're looking at. But again, a lot of them, because we dropped corporate tax rates at a time when everybody's seeking somewhere else to put their money in. That's what you just have so much money coming out from other countries into ours right now, and that's why you have pretty amazing results in the stock market over the past year as well.
Yeah, we for the first time ever, we were able to blow past 30,000 in the Dow. We're up highs in NASDAQ and the S&P. We're seeing a year-over-year 401k growth, and that's something that hits a lot of people, day-to-day individuals, is their 401ks. If we're able to continue to allow the market to rally,
Yeah, people
the way
watch
it
them.
is,
People go in their
people
account like,
definitely
well, I don't know how often.
yeah.
I don't have a real job where people actually can pay me a 401k, but I know that people that do have a 401k, they watch it and they go in and look at it every week, and if something big changes, or like they see the stock market drops or it rises or something along those lines, they are looking at that, and that's a very real thing that they feel.
The only issue that we need to make sure that we're focusing on are blue collar jobs. That's something that we're definitely is going to get left behind with the gig economy, and those are individuals that have been working at GM or some other factories that for 30, 40 years, and that transition needs to be monitored.
Yeah, and I think
also the disparity between big cities and small cities, where these big corporate gig jobs are manifesting themselves, are not in the rural cities. So it's something that we need to keep focus on.
Yeah, and if you were to ask me the solution to all of that kind of thing, I would probably have a little bit of a rant for the next 20 minutes and finish the show, because I think that the solution to that really is to move into the energy sectors. And I really believe, to me, that's
she's saying hi.
We have
fans.
We have some fans.
Waving at the fishbowl.
Former guest Anna Paulina Luna running for Congress over there. So thank you.
Today.
She did a great job as well. Same with Mackie though as well. Where she's planning on coming on the show, and we have an awesome race here. I'm gonna get distracted from my. Again, I'll leave it as we should. Manufacturing jobs. We should be moving to energy solutions.
I agree with you. Energy solutions, all that is something that we definitely did hit on. Something that wasn't discussed either was the fact that we are now a net positive energy distributor around the world with gas and with oil. So that's something that's huge. That we're able to now take more control of that.
This is the kind of stuff that I continue to tell people about, is that 10, 20, 30 years down the road and so on, people aren't going to remember Trump for his fallible personal characteristics, all right? There's obviously a lot there to pick apart, and there's a lot there to criticize. What they are going to remember is the impact that he had on this country in regards to foreign affairs, in regards to the economy. And so far, there are a lot of major milestones that he's accomplished.
Yeah, I agree with you completely.
Even judges,
the judges,
his term, 180
well,
judges.
That's why you see the levels of Republican support just completely soaring through the roof. I mean, if you polled the room here tonight on who is pro-Trump and what his approval rating is, it's probably damn near 100%.
Yeah, and
it is it's fascinating to see something like that when you have, I mean, any candidate really, because the fact is, candidates are 50-50, right?
Mm-hmm.
People have different opinions on it, but because things are just so good right now, it's hard for anybody to go, well, again, like Johnny was saying, there's plenty of things we can point to as far as character flaws. But as far as
there's an entire book when it comes to character flaws. But remember the conversation.
Nobody cares about it.
But remember the conversation with the city council member.
Yeah.
And all the issues that he had were character issues, character flaws, character flaws. I understand that. I don't feel comfortable and I don't like it either. However, that's not the reason why I voted for him. I wanted judges. I wanted immigration reform. I wanted economic policies.
And that's why the Republican Party is so happy. It's because of the judges. It's because of these policies that have gotten pushed through that we've been wanting to push through for a long time.
Well, and look at what happened with NATO, right? Which was such a brilliant moment for him.
Oh, and no one's talking about it.
Right, of course.
Well, he'll talk about it plenty on the campaign trails for sure.
Yeah, and so, of course, what did the press latch onto? And that was the fact that supposedly, there was a conversation between Trudeau and a few other people, making fun of the president. And then, he comes out, with a win, lowering our financial commitment to NATO, which is something that hasn't been done
and I said
decades.
This. I think as soon as he started talking during the election about how he's going to, or when he was finally elected, how he was going to renegotiate NATO and all of that kind of thing, I don't think anybody here has read the new NATO agreement from start to finish, right? I don't know if one word has changed or 5 words are changed or like that percentage goes from, maybe we pay, I don't even know, I'm just guessing here, but like 20% to 19%. It went
from 20 2 to 16.
But it doesn't matter. I mean, like that's probably a significant amount of money. But
Yeah.
but the point is, though, is that had he only changed it by a quarter of a percentage, he can come to the American people now and tell them, like, I renegotiated NATO, and that's something he's been promising. So when he goes to campaign, he's going to go right down that list of all the things that he promised at the beginning, and he's going to go check.
NAFTA got changed today. Like USMCA was ratified in the U.S. So now that they're okay with that, and they wanted third parties to be able to tour the facilities in Mexico to make sure they were doing the appropriate labor practices. But now that that's passed through, now like all these things are happening. And again, I don't agree with his personality whatsoever. I think it's ridiculous. However, that's not the reason why a majority of Republicans and now independents and some Democrats voted for
it. And that's why independents and maybe some people who were kind of on the fringe of the Republican Party have probably come to support Trump even more and more, because again, they've stopped caring about the character flaws because they're so all of the actual policy that's taken place has superseded the character flaws.
One of the most Republican presidents terms that we've seen in probably our lifetime is coming from a man that grew up in New York.
Not expecting
at all. And I think that's the beauty of it, that if again, the fact that he's able to keep his promises and everything else is what's going to elect him again. And this current batch of Democrats in the primaries, I don't see any of them. For a while, I was a little concerned with Joe Biden, but now I'm not concerned at all whatsoever, because I don't think he can hold himself together.
I think it's over for him. I really do. After the Ukraine and Hunter Biden thing really took a mainstream media, I think that was kind of the end of his campaign. Whether it's the end of his campaign during the primary, maybe, I'm not so sure, but I think that when it comes to the general election, I think that just lost him.
Well, someone that tanked this last few weeks was Elizabeth Warren, which has tanked significantly within the polls.
Right, because Peter Buttigieg has been going after her.
Yes, but also because she gave this ridiculous Medicaid for all speech and gave out plans and could not say that she was going to raise taxes on the middle class. And that's what's hurt her so much, because everyone knows if you're going to give Medicaid for all, you're going to have to raise taxes on someone.
But again, going back to what it is that people like about Trump is that he's just going to come out and say what it is.
Yeah.
He's not going to beat around the bush, and you're going to get what you're going to get. And so when they see somebody who's been a lifelong politician like Bernie Sanders and Warren and the lot, who are constantly skirting around the questions that they don't like, that's when people gain more of an appreciation for Trump, who's just bluntly honest.
Yeah.
However, I will say I love Bernie Sanders for the one simple thing, is that you know exactly where his positions are for the last 20, 30 years.
And that's why people love him. That's why his fans love him, is because of the fact that, again, he's been very open. I mean, he's come out and said, we got to raise your taxes, right? I mean, if Elizabeth Warren can't come out and say that because she knows the answer, and she knows that if she can make it through that primary without admitting to those type of things, then she can go back to the voters and kind of like probably waffle on her positions a little bit and kind of come more towards the middle. And I think that's why I've said it on the show multiple times now. I think that she is probably going to win the primary, the Democratic primary. And what I think is going to possibly happen and get her closer to beating Trump during the general election is that, like, all the things I just said, I think she's going to probably try and push away from some of the things that she was talking about with Medicare for All, kind of flip her position when she gets out of that primary. That's why she doesn't want to admit that, that we're going to have to raise all these taxes, because when it comes time for the general, she's going to sit back and be like, maybe that's not quite my plan.
I will say that I'm surprised that Pete Buttigieg is still in this position of percentage-wise, and it's because the press loves him right now because they're not giving him any questions whatsoever. The next Democratic debate is December 19th, which is 5 days before Christmas. I think is the worst decision ever. Yeah. And the riveting journalists from PBS and Politico will be the ones monitoring or hosting that event. So I don't think anyone's gonna really watch that. I think it was less than 4 million the last time.
Yeah, it's gonna get less and less, and then it'll get more.
Right now, at the moment, for those that were able to qualify, you only have white people that will be on the stage for that one. Cory Booker is not going to make it over. Well, Julian Castro will not make it. I think some people
were not happy about our TBYR post about the Pocahontas all white.
That rubbed a few people the wrong way.
Yeah,
will she be? I mean,
okay.
If she is if she's on the debate stage on December 19th, do we have to say it's white people and a Native American?
I don't think she's trying to own that anymore.
Okay, so then it is all. I just want to make sure that we have everyone's that everyone's signage is correct when it comes to that. But I know they say that Andrew Yang and Tulsi Gabbard might be able to get into the debate. They have one more poll that they have to reach, and if they're able to reach it, then they can move on.
I think they probably will. They have enough momentum in small circles to get to the next debate.
I think Amy, what's her
Klobuchar?
name? I think she's also on this. She's about to get on the panel also.
I don't know how she has anybody.
I don't know how she has so much money. I don't understand it. It's because she has a smaller game, a ground game than Kamala Harris.
But still, how is she polling so high when
people
she's
love
not making headlines?
People love mom jokes. That's what she does all the time.
I don't know what it. I don't know. You know what it is. I think it's just simply about the
bob cut. I don't know.
I think it's simply about the Me Too movement thing. I think she was so ahead of her at the beginning of that movement that she's got this base that's just sustained her the whole time.
Well, who do you think is going to be the next one to drop when it comes to the Democrats?
I mean, some of the people that I couldn't name.
We have Julian Castor. We have Michael Bennett. We have Cory Booker.
I mean, those two.
We
the
have
first two.
John Delaney. He's just rich. That's why.
John Delaney. He was actually. Is he the one that's actually moderate and reasonable?
He's the but he's also extremely wealthy. So he can.
I mean, they all are.
Oh, we forgot about and then Bloomberg.
You know, which again, Bloomberg is already starting to
6% nationally.
I mean, he has huge name recognition. Especially coming out of New York and especially being a media mogul. But I think that Democrats are going to have a hard time coming to grips with electing a billionaire as their candidate, being that they rail so hard against people of wealth and against someone who has obviously benefited from a lot of the
policies that they want to try and get rid of. Yeah,
because all the other ones are not multimillionaires. I mean, was it? Bernie Sanders has multiple houses.
But you know what? They don't get to use the B in the billionaire, right? Okay, their wealth is fine once you get to that top 0.1%.
Once you have that's when you
up there.
That's when you need to get all of your money taken away. So,
man. All right. Well, real quick, I want to say hi to the people who have been watching, commenting. Hector Gonzalez, as always. Thank you, buddy, for watching. And he's made some great points in here. We did see the story about Afghanistan in the Washington Post, but it was just a little too much today to get to that. EJ Otero, what's up, buddy? Missed you here at the forum. Christian Ziegler, man, what's up, man? He is the vice chairman of the Florida Republican Party, or the Republican Party of Florida.
Do we have comments, anything to talk about, or are we just
in regards to Christian, I do want to give him a shout out. Joe Gruters, the Florida delegation, they had a successful statesman dinner down in Evansville.
Yeah, congrats to everybody that attended that.
That's how it looks like, a successful.
Look, I think they're going to come out with a huge number.
That's going to be great.
Because apparently, it was. Yeah, it was a big success.
It looked like a full room, that's for sure. And again, Ron DeSantis is absolutely just, above and beyond performing better than anybody I think ever expected. And that's not just in Republican circles. That is in independents, and that is Democrats as well. And
Orlando Sentinel has to say nice things about the president.
They try so hard not to. They really try so hard not to. But
even when they are saying something nice, he's just doing what everyone should have done anyways.
Well, and I gotta express my sincere envy for Gruters. Chairman Joe Gruters and Chris Sprouls, Dane Eagle, all these guys who got to ride on Air Force One with the president. That was very, very cool. But again, I think these are like the little fringe benefits that we're going to see having the president be a resident of the state of Florida.
And again, and everybody knows how important it is to win the state. And I think that, as much as people want to point to some of the factions that were in the RPOF and all that, I don't think any of that's there. And I think that you have a strong party and you have a strong, a plan going into 2020 from not just the presidential standpoint, but from the House and from the Senate and the Florida and all of the local politicians that we're here and supporting.
And that's the beauty of coming to we're going to enter this one now. I love the idea of coming to another county because we're all from Hillsborough County, and coming to Pinellas and seeing how this organization is run and how well it's run, how the fact that there are so many individuals, politically elected officials that are here, city council, mayors, and that's what
Mayor Waters.
I know. I love her to death. She's awesome. Yeah. And that's what you expect from a county's REC, whereas in Hillsborough County, we're having it very difficult just getting people that were elected just in large large Republican districts and still cannot get them to those meetings because of how hostile it is.
Well, that's a perfect segue into I think our final topic of the night.
So that's what a segue looks like.
I've done plenty of great segues.
You couldn't even get yourself out of women can't run for president.
I did not say that.
Other people have said that.
Did not say that.
Again, recently there was a lot of news that came out in the Tampa Bay Times about two individuals. One, unfortunately, from the Pinellas side of the Bay, and then the other from the Hillsborough County side of the Bay, both with very similar rhetoric in terms of not only who their target was, but also the type of violent activity that they were wishing upon this individual. And the truth of the matter is, and I don't know how deep we need to go into it, but it shows that extremism on both sides is incredibly toxic, and it's not any and it turns away people more than it does attract them.
Yeah, and it's really difficult for people like us who are sitting here trying to do our best to put the Republicans' best foot forward in a county like Hillsborough or Pinellas, and you have they don't talk. Nobody from Tampa Bay Times tonight came and interviewed us and asked us our opinion. Right? They took a headline about hanging from two different prominent, Republican figures in the area, and that's what's difficult about it is because they're going to run with that narrative come election time. Right? They're going to sit there and they're going to say, this is what the people of Pinellas County believe. This is what the people of Hillsborough County believe. I mean, look at who they elected as chair and all that kind of thing. And it's going to be a lot of slander. And again, you have to try and deal with that from our side, which is trying to put the best foot forward for the Republican Party
and major
here.
props to Todd Jennings, who's the chairman here of the Pinellas County Republican Party. For having the pair to basically, say to George Buck, who's a congressional candidate, who also said very similar things about Ilhan Omar and her being treasonous and her deserving to be hanged, again, all incredibly inappropriate, and saying, that type of rhetoric is unwelcome in this organization, and he excluded him from the candidate forum as he should have been tonight.
I'm very glad that step was made, and that we're no longer allowing that kind of craziness to infiltrate our primaries, because that hurts more than it helps.
And again, I think that we do a good job of pushing that type of rhetoric out from our groups, like from the Tampa Young Republicans. I don't think you really hear anything like that from coming out of anybody that comes to our meetings. And the problem is, again, when it comes to the Tampa Bay Times, when it comes to the creative loafing and these people that are writing these articles, they're going to lump us all together like we're just one monolith, and then we're these terrible people, and it's like that's what's going to be difficult.
Well, and imagine, I can assure you that if George Buck had been allowed to speak tonight in this candidate forum, that it would have made the paper tomorrow.
There was press here. Press was here waiting for him to hear that, and they were a little put back when the whole and you'll see it when you watch the forum replay, that there was a disturbance and people were upset the fact that he wasn't allowed to speak.
But it was literally like two people.
Yeah, it was two people, and the whole room booed him out, and he had to walk out. And that's what you do. The adults have to get back and get back in control of these organizations. When it comes to Hillsborough County, I'm sorry, Mr. Warishuk, you are smart enough and old enough to know that anything that's on social, and it may be just the fact that it's social media, that he doesn't know what's better, that whatever you post is going to be there for the rest of your life, and everyone's always going to see it. And the fact that he didn't put it, he put it as public and not private, is another huge but that's what I'm saying. The fact that he doesn't understand the difference means that he doesn't understand the concept of social media. So there's one part of me that says he just doesn't know what.
The problem isn't that he doesn't understand social media. The problem is that he thinks that type of rhetoric is okay. And so, while on this side, fortunately, it was just simply a candidate, who again made the same inflammatory remarks in an email. We're talking about on the Hillsborough side, the chairman of the party that represents the entire county, who was elected by Republicans. And again, the fact that he doesn't know how Facebook works doesn't matter, because you shouldn't be posting that type of content anyways. And it was completely idiotic for him to do so. And the saddest part is that then the board coddles him and whoever is responsible for managing their social media then goes and tries to spin it as the Tampa Bay Times trying to attack
fake
him.
news.
When they have screenshots from your Facebook account.
Yeah, it's not fake
Like,
news when they're doing that.
Yeah, exactly. They were screenshotting. It wasn't a misrepresentation. They were literally taking something he posted and putting it up on display.
Yeah, and again, where I'm worried about is it being a misrepresentation of the entire party.
Correct.
Oh, it absolutely is.
Yeah.
And that's why the reporters put it out there, because it feeds that monster that wants to label us as, crazy, as racist, and misogynist.
So I'm waiting for Creative Loafing or Tampa Bay Times to get back to me on my piece.
They're not going to because that doesn't buy by their narrative that they want to continue to push that all Republicans are racist. And the fact that the chairman has allowed that to fester is a huge breach of confidence when it comes to a lot of us that are in the party that would love to be a part of the monthly meetings, but they see no benefit of it because it's become such a
cesspool.
Yeah, and I think we're down to.
I don't want to use that word because I know a lot of people that still go to those meetings, and I love them to death.
But the problem is that those people, even the good ones, they sit there and they tolerate it.
Yes.
And they allow it and they accept it. And as long as they continue to do that, they are part of the problem and not the solution.
Yeah, I think we're down to about 2 viewers now, so we have narrowed down this. We have narrowed down this topic to the three people who still attend meetings and they want to and hear about this kind of stuff.
So or the ones that are going to report back.
That's what I'm saying. You'd be surprised how many people watch this at the following day that watch this all the way through. And get comments about.
Again, I think that again, it's a bad look on the party, and I hope that before election time doesn't come back and bite us all in the ass when it comes to the all of our local candidates.
Again, this is not how you get donors. This is not how you get new members. This is not how you do anything. Being a part of this large of an article and then saying that it's fake news when it's not fake news. We can see it plain as day. And again, us having to now have to carry water for the Republican Party of Hillsborough County is just embarrassing and it's upsetting.
And the most frustrating part is that while we could be capitalizing on a very popular president, not only within the party but the country being in a good place.
Yeah.
Now we're having to work from way farther behind.
And it was unwarranted. That's what's frustrating. This isn't a they were asked about it because this major thing happened in Hillsborough County, right? Where it's like, okay, what's your opinion on this major issue? That was not. This was completely just out there for no reason, just to put it out there.
And George Buck made the comment once in an email.
Yeah.
Okay, still unacceptable.
And he says it was a staffer, I think,
but
too.
Warishuk, it was repeated. They had multiple
and he's
examples,
doubled down since then as well.
Right. They've made multiple examples of him crossing the line. And again, he doesn't know any better. And somehow he thinks that type of rhetoric is going to help him. And yet he doesn't have the self-awareness to realize that he's run the organization into the ground.
Again, I cannot wait for the December 12th meeting. I want to see what the Lincoln Day dinner numbers look like. I want to see what the membership numbers look like because I truly feel that this has affected a lot of that information. Again, when it used to be at the Afonso Center in Alfano Center.
You guys are way older than me.
By USF. Shut up. It was hundreds of people were attending those meetings. Even when it moved into the theater, still hundreds of people were attending those meetings. And it's sad to see an organization that we all looked up to and leadership that we looked up to now in a position that we can barely tolerate.
All right.
I think that's a good way to wrap.
Yeah,
Let's wrap it up.
Absolutely. Just a little bit of housekeeping. There's going to be a big mass transit transportation conference or something coming to Tampa. There are some grassroots folks who are looking to protest that event, and so just kind of keep an eye out for details on that. It is tied to All for Transportation. Basically, this conference was given to Tampa as a reward for having gotten All for Transportation passed and giving us thus far
increased
the highest
taxes.
And if you're interested in hearing more about that, go back and watch our episode when we had Cesar Hernandez on because I think that was a very good topic.
He was a great speaker about this, and I think the bigger issue is that we don't want the funds to be wasted, and that's something that we have to keep track of.
Yeah, so I want you guys to do a lot of protesting and activism while I'm gone because I am taking off tomorrow. I will be gone throughout the rest of the year now, and
vida.
So I will be. This will be the last podcast for at least a couple of weeks. You guys will have to do without me.
Oh my God! All right,
sad.
Any other housekeeping items?
Yeah. Absolutely. Our TBYR Christmas party went fantastic.
Yes.
Thank you to the patio. They have been such generous hosts to us for the past 2 years now. We've actually had like an annual Christmas party, which was a ton of fun. And I think the entire the bar. I thank the bartenders, the staff, and everybody over at the patio. If you don't go there regularly, start. And help those guys out because they're good people over there. And then also we don't have like a regular Tampa Young Republicans meeting currently because we've got Christmas that would fall on our regular day. Then we're looking into January. At the end of January, we're going to have a meeting where we'll have elections. So if you're interested, again, in getting more involved with what we're doing, if you want to get more involved with the podcast or any of the different events that you see out there, come out to our events. And again, if you want to get really involved, come run for a board position because we have that going on at the end of January as well.
No better year to do it than a presidential election year, that's for sure.
It's going to be a lot. This year is going to be a lot of fun, a lot of money, and a lot of people are moving and pouring into the state and into our region because it's such an important region for us to combat when it comes to the Democrats. That we are every stone we're looking for. I mean, the calls that we made at a few weeks ago was phenomenal. It was great getting feedback from individuals and that are registered Republicans that are under the age of 40. So I feel that doing more of those events, Jake, I think was a great idea, and I kudos to you. In regards to FFYR and TYR stuff, just keep focusing on the Facebook page and the websites as more details come out as deployments are going to be something of a big deal this coming cycle.
Yeah, from our comment section, again, our buddy Hector said, don't forget about the Republican National Hispanic Association Christmas party.
That's right.
Drop the Tampa Bay in Riverview on December 18th at 6:30.
There you go.
Riverview.
Hector, Riverview.
All right.
Can't do it in Tampa.
Oh, my goodness. All right, enough of you. All right, thank you again for watching. We really appreciate you being watching the show, whenever, wherever you may be watching it. Jesus, Jake, you can't wait 30 seconds? Oh, my God. So, we appreciate you watching this little experiment today. We'll see you back at the studio next week for the yard sign. Oh, Jesus.